Welcome everybody, it's Lewpac here with another Albion Online video, and today we're going to look at the 10 rarest and most powerful mounts in the world of Albion Online. These mounts range from very expensive to very hard to obtain, and some of them even have deadly combat abilities. So we're going to get straight into it and bring you firstly the 4 battle mounts in Albion. Now, the battle mounts have a variety of offensive and defensive abilities, which makes them unique. And while they're open to everybody, the battle mounts, they're very expensive, which means not everybody will own one, but you will actually see them out on the field of combat. Unlike some of the rarer mounts we'll talk about later that people probably won't be bringing out into the world. The first mount we're going to look at is the Flame Basilisk. Now, this is a battle mount version of the saddled swamp dragon based around fire magic. So it has 2 active abilities. One is Cold Flame. Cast a flame in a 10-meter radius around your target area, and that will increase the damage taken of everybody hit by 13% for 10 seconds. It can't be stacked with other combat mounts, but it's very powerful debuff to keep on the enemy during a big ZVZ battle. The other ability it has is Impairing Breath. A fiery breath hitting all enemies in a cone in front of you. It deals a small amount of damage, but reduces the healing they receive by 35%, which is a massive tide swinger. So the battle mounts are not intended to go around just destroying everybody, but they more fill out a support role in the ZVZ battles. So they're pretty powerful, though. You don't want to bring more than 1 or 2 in a big ZVZ. The final ability is an ability that all of the battle mounts have, and that is a special speed gallop for moving around. It does silence the mount. It lasts as long as you want, but if you get tagged by an enemy, you will drop your gallop. The second of the battle mounts we're going to look at is the Poison Basilisk. Again, based on the saddled swamp dragon. This is a powerful support mount for ZVZ battles. This one has a couple of different abilities to the fire one, although both mounts do have now the same armor resistances and move speed and hit points. Before, the poison was actually the tankier of the 2 mounts, but in a recent patch they actually got the same numerical values. So the Poison Spit ability, or Poison Cloud ability, is the first one of the battle mount. Works a bit like the Fire Basilisk's Flame Spit. This one casts a poisonous cloud and reduces damage output by 25%. So if you put this on the enemy raid, they're going to be doing 25% less damage. The other ability, Intoxicating Breath, again like the Flame Basilisk, is a conal ability, and this one increases the damage taken by 33%. Now, that is a hell of a lot. If you time that with all of the big AoEs in a ZVZ, that can be the difference between people getting out there with a fraction of HP and just straight up dying. So again, great support mount when used in these big scale fights, but it's not going to kill anybody on its own. It also has the battle mount gallop, as we said before, which is a feature of all of the battle mounts. The third battle mount on our list is the Mighty Command Mammoth, the biggest, tankiest mount in the game by far, and a very impressive sight on the battlefield. Once again, this mount is themed around ZVZs, or Zerg versus Zerg fights with large numbers, and is intended to provide massive battlefield support. So the Battle Mammoth comes with 2 big area buffs: Take Cover and Charge. Take Cover is a defensive aura, which affects everybody in your party and gives them a damage reduction of 16.6%. Likewise, Charge is an offensive aura for your party and gives them 20% damage increase to everybody around you. There's also a third ability called High Command, which when activated will double the effect of the aura you're using. So you can buff either of your auras. It only affects the next one you use, but it's very good if you need extra defensive or offensive pressure. The fourth ability, the Massive Earth Shatter, is my favorite one on this. You may have seen this on the rock golems around Albion, but it's a huge line of rocks that comes out, does a decent chunk of damage to everybody, and knocks them flying if it hits them. And of course, you do have that battle mount gallop as well. Mammoths are very, very formidable, and they take a lot of focus fire to take down, and those auras really can turn the tide of battle. And there's nothing more awesome than seeing those mammoths come crashing through the lines during a big guild versus guild conflict. The last of the battle mounts we're going to look at today is actually the newest and cheapest addition to the game, and that is the Siege Ballista. Now, with the battle mounts you've seen so far offering massive support, it would make sense that there's actually a battle mount designed to take them out. And this is a arrow firing Siege Ballista mounted on an ox that can be driven around, and it has a couple of specialist abilities. You've got a large multi-shot cone ability, which fires a big spread of arrows, does large amounts of damage, reduces crowd control resistance. It's a bleed over time as well, so once you apply it to people, it keeps that pressure. The second ability is a piercing single target channeled ability. The more you channel, the more shots it fires, and as you can see, this actually is specifically targeted against mounts. It does hurt players, doing 1.5% of their max health per hit, but it also deals 3% of a mount's health per hit. So if you're targeting a command mammoth, it's doing huge amounts of damage. And of course, it also has that battle mount gallop for moving along with your Zerg. Now, the reason all of these mounts have this gallop is because they were too easy to catch when they were alone before, and also bringing battle mounts meant you couldn't really keep up with your ZVZ forces. So this is a nice feature that was added in a recent patch just to help people keep up with their squad. Now on our rare mounts list, we're going to look at a couple of hard to obtain mounts in the game. The first of which is the very, very rare Ghost Wolf. Now this is a reskinned direwolf. It has the exact same stats as a direwolf, same speed, same HP, no resistances. But this was a very, very rare drop that you could get on the launch of the game from killing direwolves. It was also offered as a very limited time referral reward before referrals really took off. So you may see a few players rocking this, but it's not a very common sight around Albion. There's currently no way in the game to get a Ghost Wolf, so they're very, very sought after by rich players and collectors. As you can see, it's a very, very cool looking skin with some mean blue eyes as well. Next up is the Yule Stag. This reskinned stag is a 6.1 rare mount that was available for a very limited period around the Christmas event during Albion. Now, unlike a lot of other seasonal mounts, this mount could only be created by getting your hands on a decorative stag bridle. These were a very, very hard to get item that dropped in short supply, and only a few players were able to get them during the Christmas period. I don't know exactly how many exist in the world, but again, this is quite a collector's item. It's kind of a white stag skin with a bunch of candles attached to the helm. But yeah, you don't see a lot of these around, and they're very, very cool. Next on the list, we're going to talk about 3 rare mounts with activated abilities. The 3 world boss mounts. Now, these are attainable in the game still. They're reasonably hard to get, ranking from not too bad with the Nightmare to very, very hard to get for the Rage Claw. So first we're going to take a look at the Nightmare. Now, if you want to get the special item required to get a Nightmare horse, you will have to kill an elite obsessed demon prince in one of the castles. These are a timed world boss spawn that's heavily contested and quite a tough encounter. The Nightmare is basically a T8 armored horse, I believe. I think it's around that equivalent, but it also has a very, very cool activated ability. You can actually put a flame trail behind you, which acts a bit like a fire mage's flame wall. It will fear any target that runs into the wall, and has a lot of really fun open world applications. Plus, in my opinion, it's one of the coolest looking mounts in the game. Next on the list, we're going to look at the Spectral Bone Horse. In order to get one of these, you'll need a Spectral Mask, and the only place in the world to get that is Blighted Bog when the Condemned Harvester is spawning. So it's very, very hard to get because there's only one boss in the world that gives it. This is a really cool reskin of a normal tier 8 horse. Therefore, it has no armor or resistances, but is very, very fast. And also it has an awesome activated ability called Glimpse of the Other Side. This will actually put you invisible for 5 seconds while moving. So when galloping, you can actually go quite far invisible. And I've seen a lot of high tier GVG teams using these to transport their goods, because if there is a blockade or anything, they can actually simply stealth through to the next tile, straight through a blockade that probably doesn't even see them coming. Again, a very, very cool looking mount and well worth picking up if you can find one. Finally, for our rare mounts video on the world mounts is the hardest one to get of all of them. That's the Rage Claw. Now this is only available from one place again, and that is Inismon. You will have to get this boss down during its live timer. It only spawns once every couple of days, and it's very, very contested because it's in a yellow zone. It is regarded as the trickiest of the 3 to get, and it has a price tag to match if you try and buy one on the market. Of course, the reason it's so expensive is because it is hands down the fastest mount in the game. Its base speed is 5% higher than even a direwolf, and it has an activated ability called Predator Sprint, which is super, super quick, and absolutely no one will catch you when you put this on. Again, a very, very cool looking mount, but you won't see a lot of them out in the wild. Finally on our list is the rarest mount in the game, and the only mount on the list that I don't actually have access to show you. It is the Sabertooth Rex. Now this is effectively just an armored Swiftclaw, very similar to the armored Sabertooth you can get from winning arenas. But this was given as a reward for an arena tournament that happened in 2017, the Albion Arena Masters. Only 6 of them exist in the game, and they were given to the winning team. They're very, very hard to get. Obviously, you would have to convince one of those players to sell them, and the prices being touted for them are very, very high. So if you ever see one of these Sabertooth Rexes out and about, you've very much seen a rare sight indeed. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into the rarest mounts around Albion Online. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you've got any thoughts on these mounts, or there's anything you want to see in a future video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.